Hello and welcome to the Hot Mic. Today we have with us Jayant Chaudhary. He is president of the RLD and also someone who's been contesting elections. Jayant, most of the focus this time has been on the RLD, which is joined with the NDA. So, how has it been like contesting the elections from the other side?
No, it's a different experience. It's a different style of leadership and campaigning. But elections are elections. You've seen one, you've seen them all. So it's about the same, hitting the road, reaching out to the grassroots, communication, how you connect with the grassroots. That's important. And I think RLD always has its presence there. We made our presence felt. And now our party is growing. Now we are part of NDA. We're hopeful to get a great result.
But in terms of, first of all, how has the election been? Because, two seats that the RLD is fighting had the election has happened. What has been your feedback? How do you feel the election has gone?
Our voter has turned out, even though overall
Very
percentages
low.
are low. That is, I think, down to the fact that people aren't seeing a contentious election, in the sense that opposition isn't really seeming very strident or strong.
There is a course correction in that of late.
Of course. I mean, we were there on the opposition till then, especially in that particular region that's gone to poll in the first two phases. It was RLD which was the most strident voice. It was strong opposition. Now that RLD is tied up with NDA, it creates a vacuum. It will take time before opposition parties gear themselves up to
Western UP area.
put them in that position. And because the election was seeming like a done affair, perhaps some of the vote didn't come out in the kind of excitement that you see. But our vote has come out. They voted for us. They want to strengthen us. And I think it'll end up being a decisive mandate.
But how did you manage to get the BJP and the RLD workers to work together in such a short time?
It's not that difficult. I mean, we've worked together in the past. We've fought elections in the past.
That time it was not so polarized as it is now.
So this election is not polarized at all. We have had excellent connect programs in for instance, in the Muslim-dominated villages. Our caravans, our election campaigns have gone through those villages, had excellent connect programs. We have leadership in those communities, and they've done their best to get the vote out. So it's not been a polarized election as far as we are concerned.
But the Jats and the Muslim, there is, a legacy of, antipathy, which is also we saw in the Muzaffarnagar riots in 2013.
No, that was never part of our legacy. In fact, Jats and Muslims have tended to vote together.
Chaudhary Sahab tried to make the rainbow coalition.
He didn't have to try. That was a natural, organic, social movement. And it still exists today. There is a great sense of camaraderie. And that is why the Muslims in our area should have confidence that now RLD is part of NDA. We are not going to be witnessing the kind of rhetoric and the kind of communal polarization that this area has experienced in the past. That is why we expect some of the Muslim vote to stick by us.
Did that translate on ground?
It has. I'm receiving favorable votes. Reports. But of course, when the votes get counted is when,
the real buck stops there. But how do you, you've been asked this question many times, but I haven't had a conversation with you on this. Your switch over, why did you go with the NDA and, leave the India Alliance?
In any line of work, Priya, you've done it. We all have to do it. You have to keep retooling yourself, thinking about your positioning, your past, your future path, your strategy. And I think a reassessment was called for, and a reinvention perhaps is required. I mean, you're pushed against a wall, you come up with new solutions. Correct. I think eventually it came to me in my own head, thinking things through and understanding that perhaps I need to give them a chance. So once that personal realignment came through, and especially after Bharat Ratna, which was great confidence booster for all of us, a great morale booster, and in a sense, in one decision, the government conveyed that they respect the commitment and ideology of Chaudhary Charan Singh. That made it much, much easier for us. And I think that is translated to the grassroots. I had no explaining to do. Typically, when you take a decision, change a political stance, come up with a new alignment, you have to explain to the cadre, there's some sort of dissent. Ours is a very open structure, as you know. People come and meet me all the time. Correct. I'm not aloof. I don't take decisions in a vacuum. I consult people. This is the first such decision where I had no need to actually sit some people down, cajole them, listen to their dissent or disapproval and try and mold them towards a decision. No such conversations had to take place. It was as if they were completely understanding that yes, this is a decision we had to take and we are with you. That is the one conversation I've heard. That is the refrain I'm hearing all around me.
You you used a very interesting phrase, push to the wall. Who pushed you to the wall? Was it Samajwadi Party?
No.
There was differences between the two of you, one is hearing, between Akhilesh
There always are in two parties. There is always some level of natural friction. I think both of us, looking back, could have done better in terms of our communicating more openly with each other. He had his own ambitions for his own party. He's liable to help them grow. But not, for me, it was coming at the cost of RLD. So beyond a level, I could not get myself to approve of that.
But recently, you also said that he's very confused. I think he's taken an umbrage to the fact that you made that comment recently.
It's very easy now. Samajwadi gets asked why you changing, chopping candidates so often. They say because we are taking the view of our workers.
Correct.
Why don't you do that in advance? Before the first ticket is announced, do you not know the view of your own workers, your own organization? That is what leadership has to do, right? So if the leadership is connected to the workers, this is not the kind of decision making you see. And I think that is the one reason why Samajwadi has not done very well in last few elections. There appears to be a disconnect in the way a decision is taken and the way the cadre feels about that decision. Large parties you expect, national party, big platform, many leaders, you can expect that. But for a regional party that has good grassroots presence, Lokdal will never see that kind of decision making.
Correct.
I don't see why Samajwadi is accepting that.
At the end of the day, I have to ask you this, is it, because people keep saying that, it's not of the Vajpayee's BJP, it is Modi's BJP. There is an ideological difference also. How do you reconcile to that?
It's not a perfect world. Politics is about creating consensus. That's the essence of democracy. We have to be accepting of certain things which may appear unpalatable, but if the larger consensus within NDA is for that, I will have to abide by that decision. So as long as there is collective decision making and clear communication, and in that respect, BJP appears to be much better than other partners we worked for in the short time that I've worked with them. Yes, it may not be Vajpayee BJP anymore. I myself have, used that to criticize BJP. But every leader will refashion their organization in their own way. So what we see now, the new BJP 2.0, 3.0, whatever you want to brand it, is that the most effective communication. You have a leader who is unparalleled in that and who is largely popular across sections. Even after delivering 2 strong mandates and seeking a third one, you would expect to see some anti-incumbency of a personal nature against the leader.
Correct.
That is not visible on ground. And it's a great machinery. Everyone knows what they're supposed to do and they're doing it with discipline, with commitment. Seeing that in a political organization makes you think that the leadership is doing something right. So that's why I think I realized that there is a need for us to learn, to relearn, and to work with an open mind and heart.
You are someone who goes to where there is some kind of an order. I think the words that you used for the India Alliance was, there was a lot of confusion and no game plan per se.
Complete chaos. Complete chaos. And nothing was coming out of those meetings. Can you imagine not a single joint public program in the entire year of 2023? The year just went by us. People want a strong opposition. People want to see their leaders in among themselves.
Correct.
Only then will they identify with the issues. Even now, such a disconnect, you see Supreme Court. They have completely again said that there is nothing wrong with EVMs. But do you think the India leaders will be able to stop themselves? They won't. Come the result, when they lose again, they're going to blame the EVM. So that just shows that there's poor understanding of issues. Voters don't connect with the EVM issue at all. In fact, the cadre of India parties don't want the leadership to keep talking about EVM. Either you contest elections, given the machinery, given the apparatus, with full force. Or you say that there is something faulty, EVMs are not working, we reject the way elections are conducted, we are not going to contest. There is no in between. You are just disheartening your own cadre, your people who want to vote for you, telling them don't vote for us. There's no point. We can't win. The game is not in our control. So, unclear communication without any strategy, then the kind of issues that should be taken up aggressively, we're not seeing that.
So, are you happy with the issues being taken up on the other side? Kya kha rahe ho? You're not having, someone is eating fish during Navratras becomes an issue.
Those are not the issues, that is rhetoric.
That is rhetoric. Okay, you're quibbling with words, but...
No, it's a completely different thing. For the issues, you have to give the manifestos, the patient reading. You have to look at the policy and programs that the government has embarked on. Even if you have to criticize them, you have to look at what is working and what is not working on the ground. Don't go by one speech.
So, what is it, there's also RLD has two bases. One is the Jat base and one is the farmers base. How do you convince the farmers? You were the first one to reach the agitation, I remember, and meet the farmers. You won their trust.
I was the first one everywhere.
Is that why the BJP wants you also? Because you have one person who has a connect with the farmers that their party doesn't have.
No, I wouldn't say that. There are many leaders there from a rural background who do farming and who understand the nuances of it.
They were not given the same acceptance as you.
I wouldn't compare. But
okay,
yes,
let me do the comparison.
Yes, we worked really hard on the ground. While we were in opposition, we were working hard. So and that is what I want to convey to the same people, that we will continue to work hard. This is what the political system demands of all of us. We need to sit down on the table, look at our 10 issues and see what can be done.
So you are going to continue to raise their voice even within the NDA? And
of course, we're going to try. But then, like I said, it's about creating consensus. When you're in the opposition, you are freer, right? All you have to do is criticize. You can sit on the roadside and say, ye kaam nahi kar raha, wo kaam nahi kar raha. You don't have to come up, ordinarily you don't have to come up with alternate policies. When you're in government, you have to, there has to be more depth to the way you raise the issue.
So less protest, more governance.
I'm hopeful that's the successful way forward.
How are you seeing the election? No, before that, one last question on your thing is, how was your meeting with the Prime Minister like? Because you also not held back your criticism of him. So when you met, did he say anything?
No, not at all.
No.
He exuded warmth. He's a warm personality in that sense. And like I said, if he's a good communicator in front of lakhs of people and big crowds, obviously when you sit down with him, he can communicate effectively.
He's a people's person.
He's essentially a people's man.
So how do you see this election? The feedback I'm getting is a low turnout, but also there seems to be not an anti-incumbency, but definitely there's some sort of a Modi fatigue. It's not like 2019, that same
2019,
buzz.
There were certain events that happened just before election that might have sort of colored the way we look at that election result or perspectives. Right now, I'm not seeing any anti-incumbency at all. And I'm also seeing a failure of the opposition to capture the imagination of the voter. When you are weak politically, socially, you're not campaigning effectively, you don't have strong leaders, you don't have good candidates, then you need to come up with policy that can really capture the imagination. That will make a voter say, yes, I am changing my decision. I was an NDA voter in 2014, I was an NDA voter in 2019, I voted for Modi. Now I'm not going to vote for him. There is not one single issue that is making voters rethink their decision. So whatever turnout there is happening, it is a turnout that is saying that yes, I again reaffirm my faith and confidence in the abilities of this government to continue on its path. That is my assessment. If you look at the manifestos, for instance, again, muddled thinking. Congress is trying to re-engineer itself to come up with some kind of Mandal 2.0 movement.
Correct. That is the other point, yeah.
Indian society has moved far, far ahead of that. And actually, we need to look at with a critical eye on the kind of affirmative actions that people are proposing, what is really effective, right? And there needs to be dialogue on that issue. But if Congress is hoping that one caste census is going to now be the result, is the solution, the big solution that India is looking for.
Correct.
That is not the case, and people understand that. When you're looking at saying, I'm going to give, 1 lakh to every apprentice, young apprentice. I'm going to give, you're a woman, I'm going to give you, 8,500 every month. You'll ask the question, okay, have you understood the equation of where is this money going to come from? Congress spokespersons have floundered when asked this question, okay, how much of a budget is required to actually implement any of these promises. They don't have any figures. So they're just throwing promises in the air to catch certain segments of population and voters, then create vote bank. And if you look at it, there is one place where I know that they are going to definitely use a scissor.
Where?
That is the PM Kisan. The Kisan Samman scheme that is giving 6,000 every year. Crores of beneficiaries. The 16th installment was paid in February of this year. Ordinarily, you'd expect a political party in the opposition to mention this scheme. In fact, to demand that 6,000 is too less, we're going to increase it. They have not done that. Congress manifesto has not written a line on the scheme, on how they intend to redesign it, whether any direct economic support is to be given at all to farmers. They've not mentioned the fact, which means that whatever money you're wanting to distribute, where is that going to come from? You're going to cut down on the 21,000 crores that was given as the 16th installment to farmers. So I think the farmers need to really look at that message.
And the BJP, you think, is done his maths, and where will the BJP is also promising all kinds of freebies? Where are they going to get the money from?
So, I mean...
At least Congress is saying we won't increase taxes.
No. So, which taxes? Direct tax base is very small in this country. Indirect taxes are unfair on the middle class and the poorer sections, because I am paying the same tax, Ambani is paying the same tax, a laborer is paying the same tax when they buy something, right?
Right.
So, indirect tax base needs to, the incidence of that needs to be lowered. Right now, as a percentage of our total tax revenues, it's extraordinarily high. So, without an increase in direct tax base, looking at our fiscal economics, it is seeming unfeasible what the opposition is asking for. The government has shown a commitment. Yes, they are giving money directly to beneficiaries. They're redesigning old programs, ensuring that they are being implemented on ground. They've started a 13,000 crore Vishwakarma scheme, for instance. And subsidies are now being given directly to people in their bank accounts. But they've done the math. There is no fiscal profligacy. They've raised the resources. Our tax buoyancy has gone up. So they actually have a track record. They've shown what they can do. Whereas opposition needs to show much more insight, much more depth in what they're promising.
See, data I'm not good at, so I'm not going to argue with data figures. But in terms of anecdotal evidence, there is still a cry for jobs. People are saying that 5 kilo rice or whatever is fine, but where are the jobs?
Absolutely.
And
but
that's
do you
a
think
huge
private
issue.
Sector reservation, do you think that's
Is that the answer?
Because that Congress has included that in earlier manifestos. We have seen Rahul Gandhi has spoken out publicly in favor of that. You have to understand what impact that move or measure is going to have on capital flows. India works in a competitive world. Private sector is no longer dependent on government to give out doles or licenses. If India is not offering a competitive environment, this industry is going to shift out of India. Here on the world global stage, we are saying that forget China, come to India. We're an attractive destination for FDI, for FII, for investment flows. And here we have a principal opposition party that is saying we're going to follow a regressive policy. I would say yes, an equal opportunity commission may be order of the day. We need to have better data. We need to look at representation.
Okay.
How many women are there in the top corporate boards? How many people who from a rural background get an opportunity to be not just a guard, a watchman, a driver, but to go above that in private sector. That is something I think government should think of. But reservation we're not ready for that. And neither is that a solution.
Did you watch this in the India meetings?
Actually, in the Delhi meeting, in the meeting where the consensus was not formed in Bangalore, Mamta ji and me were the only ones who was saying that, caste census as being the one and only issue, number one on the list, is going to hurt you politically, and it is not the solution that you're offering. It can be one thing.
Correct, but it can't be your sole.
That's not your solution. That could be a starting point. And that's problematic. It's not easy to do. As the Congress very well knows, they did a census. They never released the data. Please ask them why they didn't release the data. Because the data was muddled. It was problematic. Why is Karnataka not releasing the data of the census? They may not do so ever. Because it's an issue that, look at the British ruled India for many years. They could not understand caste. I am in politics. I still don't know the story of caste, how it works, how it doesn't work. It's a deep-rooted part of Indian psyche and identity. We need to get people to think beyond that. That is the biggest challenge. I mean, for me in my lifetime, that's the biggest issue that I feel I connect with. And as a nation, I think especially the people who want aspirational policies to be implemented, they're not in favor of this.
It's a
Yes.
regressive step.
Yes.
Jayant, one question about the campaign. Why didn't the PM or Amit Shah come to your to the two constituencies where the RLD is
No
contesting?
such thing. We've done a lot of meetings together. Yogi Adityanath came thrice. So, he's heading the whole
Yogi
entire
Adityanath
campaign.
praised Charu's speech also, I'm told.
he did, yeah. She spoke very well.
She spoke in Bhagwat, right?
Yes.
So there is no messaging here that the fact that they didn't come, or is it because they don't want to further polarize the vote? That it could be one.
No, it's not a conscious decision at all. We are all doing our bit. I'm campaigning. Our 2 seats have already gone to the polls. But campaign for RLD has not stopped. I am continuing with my meetings, with my outreach. Similarly, Amit Shah ji is very active throughout the country. He's going, and we shared the last stage in Mathura in that campaign meeting. We were there together. And before that, in Meerut, when Modi ji has come, there is a segment of Bagpat that is in Meerut district. There is a assembly segment of Bijnor, Hastinapur, which is part of Meerut district.
Okay.
So in a way, he addressed those voters.
And
Our candidates were on stage for Bijnor, Bagpat, Meerut. All 3 candidates were on stage in that meeting.
so the optics were covered.
Yes.
And he was there. Let's talk about some of the current debates that are going on. This whole the inheritance tax is also. You also have a background in economics. You worked, I think, at Lazard before you joined politics. How do you see this whole conversation around inheritance tax? I don't think the Congress meant it, but since it's become an issue, let's talk about it.
That's the thing in politics. You don't say things you don't mean. That's what the Congress keeps doing. Either, जानबूझ के या अनजाने में. So I think that's where the Congress is at fault. As far as the inheritance tax, it's not an idea for India, especially in the way our market, our economy is functioning right now. We need to give value to those who are toiling against the system. It's not a perfect system. There are many biases that work at various levels. There's a class system, there's a caste system, there's a rural-urban divide. So we need to encourage free flow of capital, innovative ideas for people to set up their small businesses, give them complete freedom. I'm in favor of that. When you start talking about creating tax structures on a wealth which is created after years of toil, where people have paid many layers of tax to reach there.
Before, correct.
I'm not in favor of that at all. And it doesn't work because the ultra rich, the big corporates, it won't affect them at all. So if you're targeting, someone who's left behind a lot of wealth, thousands of crores, they will find a way to structure their investments and wealth in a way that the revenue that will come to government of India will be measly. So every measure you have to see the pros and cons. What are you losing out? What are you about to gain? The kind of revenue that can come from such a tax is not commensurate with the kind of incentive structures you create.
Apart from taxation, I also wanted to speak to you about, being in the BJP, in the NDA. Here we've seen that regional allies don't get much play. It is a very dominated, forget regional allies, even BJP leaders don't get much play with the strong central leadership. We've seen what happened to Dushyant Chautala. Are you fearful that might happen to you also? Because there is a lot of use and throw policy with the BJP.
I think that's an unfair criticism of BJP. It's something that applies to everyone. There are no friends or foes in politics. That's a saying you've heard before. And,
Yes.
it's incumbent on us that we create a value for us in that ecosystem.
So what is
We'll
your
do
value?
this and we'll do that. And we'll get a seat on the table.
You know how to make your place. So what is your USP for the BJP?
I think that's not an answer I can give. But we have Grassroots Connect. We have an organization that translates voters by and large in our area have faith in us. There are no allegations of any serious nature against our leaders. And we have leaders across pan segments. Our minister in UP comes from SC community. He's an experienced legislator from Muzaffarnagar. Our MLC comes from Mathura. So there's several districts being covered, even though we've been given 2 parliamentary seats.
Correct.
We have an MLA in Rajasthan, which repeated despite anti-incumbency.
Right.
He was the only MLA in his district that won. from the side of opposition. I mean, now Congress, because we were aligned with Congress, we were able to carry that seat again. So I think that is what BJP is looking at, our performance, our ability to connect. And I think we are looking at BJP because they're in government, and the way they are functioning, their outreach programs, at a social level, at a political level, are very, very effective.
Are you not uncomfortable with some of the rhetoric?
No, see, it's not for me to defend everything that gets said in the heat of an election. Okay. It's not the first time. These things have happened before. But people who know me know my core. And that's something I can never change.
That is good to know. But what next for Jayant Chaudhary? Now you're like 2 seats that you're contesting over, but I see you're heading off to some other election rally soon. So what, how are you going to spend the rest of the election?
Many important seats coming up in the third phase in UP as well. So I'm going to be going to Sambhal, to Hathras, to Fatehpur Sikri in the coming days. So, I mean, our efforts will continue. Full speed ahead.
Full speed ahead. On that note, thank you so much, Jayant, for talking to us, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.